Let's talk about growth because, like many Western banks, Standard Chartered is seizing opportunities arising from China's Belt and Road Initiative. Can you give us a sort of progress report of the sort of financial deals you're linking that are linked to the Belt and Road Initiative?
Yeah, I mean, there's a fantastic flow of capital, clearly from China through the Belt and Road Initiative, but also from other markets, and so most specifically in this region, from Korea and Japan, into the developing world. And then the capital is flowing into infrastructure projects of one description or other, and into, in particular, into power and into things that are facilitating global trade. So we work together with contractors or builders in these countries, with export credit agencies, with multilaterals, like the AIIB or the AIDB or the African Development Bank, or the World Bank, IFC. I mean, we have very, very active engagements with all of these, in addition to credit insurers and others, to get the capital from where it's looking for a return, and where in some cases there's also some sort of political or strategic objective, as clearly there is with the Belt and Road Initiative, into where it's desperately needed. And to do that in a way where the highest standards, not just financing standards, but also ethical standards, are being met. And it's been very interesting to watch how the Belt and Road Initiative has evolved over the past 5 or 6 years, from being one that was dominated by state-to-state flows, where the deals tended to be a little bit more opaque and had a little bit less commercial rigor than what's increasingly happening, which is deals that have a strong element of market support. And so the market doesn't just bring money, it also brings governance and standards, testing of economic viability. And obviously banks like Standard Chartered or others, or capital markets investors, have perfectly high ethical standards. So, and not to mention focus on sustainability and other things that are so critical to our broad stakeholders. So I hold out very high hope for the ongoing growth in the developing world that will come from this appropriate flow of capital from the world savers into the world's creditors.
As CEO of one of the world's largest trade finance banks, with a lot of business in Asia, Africa, and the Middle East, where do you see global growth?
Well, we see global growth in our markets, and across Asia, there's, of course, growth is moderating as the economies become much bigger, but it's still the bulk of the world's global growth, viewed over any reasonable period of time, will come from Asia and South Asia. The Middle East and Africa have been more volatile, but we also see those as real growth drivers over the medium to long term. Right now, the U.S. is growing very healthily and probably a bit above potential. The U.S. will continue to be an important growth driver. A big part of our client growth has been with American clients who operate in the rest of the world, operate in the rest of our markets. We'd like to continue to grow with that and to grow with those American companies.
Is there anything out there that worries you?
Oh, there's tons that worry me.
Like what?
Well, the trade war that you just mentioned it could escalate to the extent that it extends beyond the U.S. and China. So the U.S. either targeting other Asian countries. Obviously, there's been good progress with Korea, good progress with Europe, good progress with Japan. But until that's completely settled, there's still some risk. And there's a risk that other populist tendencies in other parts of the world reignite parts of the trade war. So far, Europe's been very responsible. But we know that there's political tensions in Europe as well. Could that creep in and undermine some of the really good progress that we've made with global trade over the past several years? I'm clearly feeling a little bit better about the geopolitical hotspots. It's obviously helpful that the turmoil on the Korean Peninsula is receding, although we fully recognize that the issues aren't resolved there. But I was with our board in Seoul last week. People are very positive about the inevitably long, but nevertheless good process of reconciliation on the peninsula. The Middle East also seems to be finding some sort of an equilibrium. I think we'd all breathe an enormous sigh of relief if the humanitarian disaster in Yemen was resolved. But that clearly is part of a broader regional conflict that I think the world has an opportunity to address right now. So those things are feeling better about. But we'll fully recognize that we're also in the late stage of what's been a very long recovery. Led by the U.S. And the idea that we could have an economic slowdown driven by some sort of recessionary pressures in the U.S. or Europe is real. We have to recognize that. I suspect that in my time at Standard Chartered, we will have a recession. And whether it doesn't feel like it's today, but that's something to keep in the back of our minds after 10 years of reasonably steady growth.
When you say during your time at Standard Chartered, there will be a recession, what sort of time frame are you looking at?
I just think over the next several years. It's almost impossible that we wouldn't have some sort of.
How do you prepare for something like that?
You start with having a very strong capital position, which we do. You start by having a very good set of credit underwriting and credit management standards, which we have introduced and are maintaining. We like to have a business that's diversified. So we don't diversify for the sake of diversity, but the fact is we have a business that's very dispersed, so we're not too exposed to any one area of economic vulnerability. And you try to have a client franchise where the clients will stick with you and in fact come to you when they're having a tough time themselves. And I think those are the investments that we're making.
So this is the message you're sending out to all your senior managers in the bank, that something is coming and please be prepared.
Yeah.
And watch out for the
Yeah, I haven't had to send the message out because the cleanup work that we've done to get ourselves fully fit, proper, and in fighting shape has been the right thing to do to prepare for a more difficult time as well.
Hi, I'm Christine Tan, and thanks for watching Managing Asia. Do check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thanks for watching.